Have you ever stopped to wonder what really goes into planning one of your school lessons? You might think it's just a list of facts to memorize, but what if I told you that every single lesson is actually a secret map, a map to a grand adventure? Well, today we're going to follow that map and see exactly where it leads. So, what does a school lesson have in common with a big, exciting adventure? I know, it sounds a little strange, right? But think about it for a second. Every great expedition needs a map to show you the way, a guide to help you along, and, of course, some kind of hidden treasure to discover. Well, it turns out your lessons have all three. All right, part one, your learning adventure begins. First things first, on any quest, you've got to know where you're headed. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Before you set off on any kind of trip, you need to know your destination. A lesson is exactly the same. It always starts with a really clear goal of what you're supposed to learn and understand by the time you get to the very end. Okay, on to section 2, charting our course. So, once you have that destination, what's next? You need a map. And in school, that learning map has a special name. Teachers call them learning outcomes. Let's take a closer look at what that really means. Yeah, expected learning outcome sounds kind of complicated and official, but it's really just a fancy way of describing the treasure you're going to find on your quest. It's all the new knowledge and skills you're meant to have when the lesson is over. It is literally the X that marks the spot on our map. For the particular lesson we're exploring, our learning map has 3 main stops. First, we need to know the meaning of the big ideas. Then, we're going to understand the story that ties them all together. And finally, the most important part, we'll discover the why. The real reason this all matters. Now, you're never really alone on a great expedition, are you? You always have guides to help you find your way. And in our lessons, we often learn best through conversations and by listening to the stories of other people who can show us the path. These guides can be your teachers, for sure, or even people in your family. But sometimes, and this is the really cool part, the best guides are the characters inside the lesson itself. They're the ones who can lead us through the story with their own questions and their discoveries. So for our exploration today, our guides are actually a family. First up, we get to meet Mata and Pita. These are the beautiful Hindi words for mother and father, and they're going to be sharing their wisdom with us along the way. And here are their children, Anoki and Vaibhav. We'll be joining their conversation, kind of listening in on their questions and what they figure out. So together, this family is going to be our guide on this learning quest. You know how every fantastic journey has that one unforgettable landmark? You know, a famous mountain, a historic castle, or a giant waterfall that you just have to see? Well, our lesson's path is no different. We are heading straight for a very important landmark from history. So, what do we mean by a landmark in this case? Well, it's that one big, important place or event that the whole expedition is kind of built around. And the landmark for our lesson today? It's a really famous one. And here it is. Our lesson's landmark is the Dandi March, a famous protest march for freedom in India that was led by Mahatma Gandhi. This huge historical event is the central discovery that our guides are going to help us explore. It's really the heart of our whole adventure. So, we have our map, we have our guides, and we have our landmark. But here's the secret. The adventure doesn't just stop there. Not at all. A really great lesson is designed to make you curious, to make you want to explore even more, all on your own. And that's the whole point, right? A good lesson always pushes you to go a little further. It asks you to think about what you've just learned, but in totally new ways. And it offers you enrichment, which is kind of like a bonus side quest where you get to learn even more cool stuff about the topic. But here's what might be the biggest discovery of all. The real treasure isn't just about finding answers. It's learning to ask your own questions. That curiosity, that's the fuel that's going to power every single learning adventure you ever take. So remember, every school lesson is basically an invitation to an adventure. It's got a map, it's got guides, and it has amazing landmarks to discover. And every single one of those journeys, it starts with a question. So now I have to ask you, what's yours?